Oh, yeah. Here is to
Woo!
getting paid, invoicing. Let me get my fan out.
Oh, yes. There. I don't know if I was showing before. This is so exciting. Look, we switched spots. For those who've been joining, we switched spots.
We switched
And
spots.
now Bonnie has all the money in her hand now.
I
The
just
power.
thought Stephanie had her time in the spotlight, so I
Yeah.
booted her out of her little home here and
She took over. It's all right.
taking over. So hopefully, we get through everything we can, but let me go ahead.
Yeah, I'll let you take it away here.
Pause this.
All right.
But yeah, so excited to have you. Hopefully you were able to tune in for all of our previous sessions we've done today. We have gone through a lot. It's like the end of the day. Hopefully our brains aren't too fried because we have a lot more planned. But just to introduce myself for anyone who may not know, my name is Bonnie. I'm a client champion over here at Travefy. So whenever you have questions or need anything, me and the others on the client champion team are the ones to help. But let's go ahead, get through some housekeeping items. First of all, if you have been on some of the sessions before, you know already that you can get training camp certified. So if you attend 5 or more sessions, you can receive a training camp certification badge afterwards. And we understand this season is crazy busy. It's wave season. So if it's busy like that and you can only watch the recordings, that's fine as well. You just have to watch them before March 21st and you can still get certified. The other thing too is, like usual, we are recording these sessions and you'll be able to find these recordings on the training camp landing page, which here's that URL down below, Travefy or trainingcamp.travefy.com. We'll be uploading them there and you can always watch them. The other thing, we have some encore sessions coming up. So right after this session, actually, we'll be doing a Facebook Live, which is going about creating a landing page, just some different tips and tricks within there. They're like 20 minutes long, so they're a little bit more digestible than some of these 30-minute hour ones that we are doing. And then as you can see, some of the other ones for March 14th, 15th, definitely tune in for those. And then on the last day, like usual, we will end the day with travel trivia. So we're going to be asking like 25 questions that are travel related. I find the weirdest, most random ones out there. So if that helps you any to do a little bit of homework beforehand, you can do so. I believe, what is it? The Amazon gift card is going to be $100 for the winner. So we have some good ones. Second and third place also get some gift cards as well. So tune in to win some money. But for the next session, which is technically today, that encore session, again, 4 p.m. Central Time. It'll be on our Facebook page. You can just tune in there. But then tomorrow morning, Eric and I are going to be interviewing the product team, and we're going to be able to pick their brains a little bit, see what's coming up on the road plan for this year, and kind of just get some behind the scenes looks at things. But now that I've gone through my usual spiel, we're just going to make the most of our time and just hop right on into Travefy. So let me move some things around, maximize this so hopefully you can see it. And today we're talking all about cruises and proposals, how to put one together. So we're going to start right from scratch. And now the thing is too, forgot to mention this, but we do have some people on the back end, including Stephanie, working on questions. So we'll try and get as many questions answered that way, but we'll also have time for the Q&A that we have at the end. So if you have any, make sure to throw them in there. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to us at professional@travefy.com. But now enough chit chat there. Let's actually start doing something. The first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to select new trip. And we're going to start off with a proposal, kind of see how we can put together a cruise proposal and how that converts into an itinerary, kind of taking a look at the workflow. So new trip, we're going to do that proposal and let that load. And right here, we're presented with a blank template of sorts that we can just start to fill in and start to customize. And now the first thing that I always do like to bring up, even if you have been using Travefy for a while, what the big difference between that proposal versus itinerary is. Proposals are just going to have that approve proposal button when your client views it, whereas an itinerary, it won't. It'll just have the app and PDF option instead. So that is why we're sticking with a proposal today. And the next thing that I always recommend, because it can look a little overwhelming, especially if you might be new to this, is just starting off in your trip settings. And so I'm going to select settings at the top left. And this is where we somewhat lay the foundation for the trip. And so what I might do is let's start off with the trip name. I'm going to call this, if I can type right, Western Mediterranean Cruise. And you know what? We'll say this is for the Smith family. The other thing is I'll put in the start date. So I am going to put in a start date of May 5th, Sunday. Oh, that's for March. Let's change that. And back it up, May 5th. There we go. Price, obviously, we can put a price in there, but don't feel like you need to fill out every single box. If you are someone who doesn't want to put the price in, you don't have to. But for today, we'll say something like starting at, oh gosh, $1,500. Description, I always like to highlight description because this appears at the top of your itinerary. It's not in any dated section. So it's a really nice place to put just important information or a custom message of sorts. So what I'll do, I'm just going to copy and paste some of my description here and paste it right there. And as you can see, you have some different formatting options if you want to get fancy. So if you want to bold, italicize, highlight, put a couple of links in there, you can. But I'm going to click Save Changes. There we go. You can see the title change. You can see starting at. The next thing that I'm going to do is just change that cover photo super quick. So I'm clicking Change Cover Photo. We have a couple of different options that we can do to upload images here. So one, you can search Pixabay. You can always upload your own website method, copy and paste. We'll be looking at all of these methods, by the way. But starting out, we're going to just use our database here. And I'm going to search Mediterranean. And we get a lot of cool photos. I personally am going to choose this one and save my changes. And now it's all about adding the content into our day. So as you can see here, we have it starting on May 5th. I realize, oh, you know what? It's actually starting May 7th. You can always quickly change it by clicking on the actual day here. And I'm going to select Sunday, May 7th, move entire trip to this start date. And now the next thing, we're going to start adding in the cruise information. And now the nice thing about cruises is we have a lot of the major cruise lines in our system where you can actually import their itineraries over instead of having to copy and paste or manually creating it on your own. And so as you can see, I'm clicking New Event and we get a drop-down list of different categories that we can add into May 7th or this section. And so starting off, I'm going to do cruise. And it's as easy as filling in these two areas, cruise line and cruise ship. So for the cruise line, I can just search it. Of course, if you're curious, you can always scroll through and see all of the cruise lines in here. Today, we're going to stick with Norwegian. I'm going to search it, click it. Now it's as easy as putting in the ship that these people are sailing on. So it looks like they're going to be sailing on the Epic. So I can scroll down, select it. And from here, we can choose between these. So they're going to be on this 4-day one, and I'm going to select Get Itinerary. And they get a little preview now of what's going to come over. So this is where you can make sure that those dates line up with the stops. Looks good to me. So I'm going to basically confirm it and add it to my itinerary. Now, here's the fun part. We get to see the magic kind of happen. May 7th, it brings over this event. It gives the people deck plans, a little bit about the ship. The other nice thing too is they bring in place attachments, or what we call these little guys, where a client can click into it and they're going to get a little map. They're going to get even more information. But the nice thing about having it in a place attachment is that it's not going to lengthen your trip. It's actually going to be more condensed, but still providing your clients more than enough information. Now, I'm going to click out of there, just showing you a couple of other things. You can see arrival, departure times. And now what's left for us to do is pretty much just customize it. So that means adding photos, adding some shore excursions, cabin options, and whatnot. And so the first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to make this have more of a custom feel. And I'm going to add in an information item where it's going to talk about the ship. So I'm selecting New Event. Last time we did cruise and we filled out the information. This time we're doing new event and selecting info. And so for the title, I'm going to say something like meet your ship, Norwegian epic. In the notes, this is where I can put in some description about the ship. So I'm not going to make you watch me try and type all of this out. I'm just going to copy and, well, hopefully paste it. But this is where you can just, again, go to the supplier site and copy and paste some description that you see. So let me do just that. Now it's, again, just some information about the ship, makes the clients feel really excited about going. But I will take this just a little step further, and I'm going to add in some media. And now this is really the fun part to making a trip, what I like to call pretty. So we're going to click down here next to multimedia. And we get the same kind of thing when we did cover photo. We get our different options and how we can add in some different media. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to bring over a video, and you might hear a little bit of it start. Hopefully not. Whew, that was kind of loud. Let me bring it over so you can see what I'm doing. I'm basically bringing over this video from Norwegian Cruise Line's YouTube account, and it looks like a general just walkthrough of the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click share. I'm going to select copy, and this is the little link that we want to use. And we're going to select video, which is that last option on the right, and just paste that in. And I'm going to select add video. And now the nice thing too, it brings over the thumbnail that was used on YouTube. And once they're done watching the video, they're still on the trip. So once they're done, they can continue scrolling through the itinerary and interacting with it. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make sure to save that. We're going to add in just one more item. I'm going to click this plus button. Again, we're at the bottom, adding in some photos. And I am now, I'll show you what I'm doing too. I'm on their site. Out of there. That's the video we just imported. And now what I like to do is I like to go through the cruise's site, and I like to pick out different photos. And if I see one that I like, I'll just go ahead and I will do a right click on it, copy the image. And I like to use the copy paste method. I also like to make sure to click edit and make sure the box is as big as I can get it to fit as much of that photo in there. And save my changes. Of course, you can add a lot more photos than just this, but we're just going to continue moving on down the line. One other thing is that you might notice that meet your ships at the bottom, but the departure events at the top. Personally, I like to have my information items appear at the top before any, activity like this. And so an easy way to rearrange items is clicking this edit button. You can actually do a lot with that edit button. So we're just going to move this to the top so it flows just a little bit better. But we're going to continue our way on. We just put in meet your ship. We imported that itinerary. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give them some cabin options. And so I'm selecting new event right here. Again, we get our usual list of different things we can start to stack into this day. And this time I'm going to select cruise. But I'm not going to import an itinerary just because we already did that. I'm going to select add cruise manually, and this is how I'm going to add in my cabin types. So let's, for the title, put cabin options plus pricing. And the next thing, let's go ahead.
Hey, Bonnie.
Yes.
Oh, wait, now you're back. Your sound just kind of cut off for a second. Did you know that?
No problem. I
There you
saw that. You see, there's this lovely, you might not see it because of the camera angle. We have cords everywhere, and I tend to bump them. I'm a cord bumper. Scott's a camera kicker. So
No
those are
worries.
just fun little quirks.
All the obstacles.
Oh, you know it. But let's go ahead. Let me know, though, if you end up not hearing me as well. Want to make sure you can actually hear what I'm saying.
Yep. You're all good now.
Perfect. Just a short intermission for everybody. But the next thing that we're doing, so I just added in some description about some of the cabin options that I've selected for them. Again, the whole point of this is making it feel really custom, making sure the clients are excited about going here. And so I am going to do a table. And the table feature is really nice in terms of laying out different options, different pieces of information. It gives some variation to the itinerary. So it's interesting to look at. People read into it a bit more. So I'm going to just make this right now a 2x3 table. And of course, you can always add more rows, add more columns if you need to, anything like that. So first thing that I'll do, let's make this our club balcony suite. We're going to give them another option, which is the spa suites. And again, not going to make you sit through the pain of watching me try and type out all of this. So I'm going to put in some description now for each one. Again, I just got this from the cruise's website. And for the very last thing, I'm going to put in a price. I'm not sure if these prices are accurate anymore, so don't mind that if they aren't. And if you want to get fancy, you can always bold them. Again, italicize them, highlight them, do whatever you would like. But for right now, we are good with that. And if we wanted to, we could add more photos just from the cabin options if we wanted to. So we could go here, click copy and paste. I'm just going to copy that image. We're just going to do one, just so you can kind of see how that does lay out. And make sure we do edit once more, because look how much gets cut off if we don't use that box. And save changes and done editing. So now it's looking a little bit more something like that. Again, edit to rearrange. I'm just going to move that under the meet your ship. I think that makes the most sense. Now, one other thing that most people tend to do on cruises are those additional shore excursions. Of course, you can make a little bit more money off of doing something like that or selling those. And so on May 8th, which is their day, and I'm going to botch the pronunciation of this. I'm not even going to try saying canes. Stephanie, help with the pronunciation on there, but we're just going to go ahead and add in a short excursion event here. And so how I can do that is I'm going to click new event. And I'm going to select activity now. And so I am just going to start filling this out with the information and put in some details about what we're doing on here. Looks like so. Maybe if I wanted to add a time or price, maybe I have that information on hand. I can click add time or price, and you can see all of the additional fields that you can fill out if you want to get really specific with it. And so for the price, I will go ahead and put $236 USD. Great. And then duration time, it looks like that is for 8 hours. So I'm just going to do it over here. And let me go ahead. I do like to click done editing if I add a lot of information in, just to make sure it does save. So I'm going to go back in here now. And I'm going to add in just some more photos. We're going to get really familiar with adding photos in if you can't tell already. I'm going to bring this over. Let me delete some of these tabs out so it doesn't look as crowded. This is where I got all of that information previously, where I just copy and pasted it. And we're just going to grab this photo, copying that image. We're going to use that copy paste method once more. I always do Command V here, but you can always do right click and paste. Edit like usual, and expand that on open. Save the changes, click done editing. And now you might notice this is not going to be after they depart. So another way that you can rearrange your events is just by moving it to where you want. And you can see the little green box, which means I can release it in here. And it is there now. Makes a little bit more sense with the schedule. Now, one thing that I will also bring over is I had something saved from my library. And so if you aren't familiar with how to bring things over from your library, all you have to do is search up either the title that you used for it, or labels is always the best way to make sure it stays organized. And so as you can see, I have my label and I can bring this on over. So maybe I put it above the optional one. And as you can see, here's what that looks like. Moving on, though, it looks like we're getting it pretty bulky for the most part. We're going to have them meet your ship once again, just summarizing, as well as those optional activities that we're doing. Now, some of you may wonder, what if I have a flight before it or before getting, on the cruise itself or a hotel stay before, which is always the smart thing, is we're going to do a new day. And I'll show you just a little bit of a trick to this. Say they are flying in May 4th. It looks like this flight's coming in, but we have it starting May 7th. You might be wondering, how do I add pre-cruise information? I already put the start date. So what I recommend, adding your new day. We're on May 12th. And what I will do is I'll move it, first of all, to be above May 7th. So it ends up being May 6th, as you can see. And from there, I can just change the date to whatever I need it to be. So I think I said, May 4th. Select that. I do want to make sure I select change only this date. If I do move entire trip to the start date, then obviously the cruise and everything else will move up as well. So I make sure to change only that start date. And now here we have May 4th and 5th and 6th with no events on there quite yet. And so from here, we can just start to add in our pre-cruise information. Maybe it's been a month and they let me know they're ready to go. They would want to go on a certain flight and airline. Great. I'm going to select new event and we are selecting flight this time. Now, let's see if this flight is still in the system. It's American Airlines. You just start to type in the airline, and this hopefully looks similar to when you were doing the cruise import where you just had to put in really basic information. I just need American Airlines. I need my flight number, which looks to be 66. Click Get Info. All right, good. This is kind of our preview just to make sure this is the correct flight. Usually there's that green check mark, which means we are tracking updates for this flight as well. And so I'm going to add it to my itinerary. Now, I will point out if there are, connecting flights or anything like that, and it's still the same airline and on the same day, you could add in the additional flight numbers and you can import them then all together. I don't happen to have a connecting one for this example, so we're just going to add this one on in. There we go. They're departing May 4th. They arrive on May 5th. You can go ahead too, and if you wanted to, you could go ahead, attach, PDF documents like e-confirmation tickets, anything like that, put in confirmation numbers if you wanted to fill that out. But now because we imported it, we're going to make sure we get updates for this once it's approved by the client. So it's a really nice way to just stay on top of things, making sure that it's a stress-free trip for both you as the agent and for the traveler. The other thing that we'll do is, of course, they're flying in, they need somewhere to stay that night. So I'm going to select new event, and we're just going to add a lodging in. And this is really easy, and hopefully it's intuitive once you get used to the software. For anyone who might be new, it looks like my microphone might have changed, but hopefully you can still hear me okay.
Can still hear you, yep.
I'm not sure why the microphone is being as funky as it is.
That cord is a little tricky, but that's okay. We can hear you.
Okay, few. But I will just make sure to talk clearer and crisper. So the next thing that we're going to do is add in the hotel. Again, we just fill out the boxes. So I'm going to just add the El Palace Hotel Barcelona. And I always scroll down to the bottom because that's usually where I find my address. Looks like this is the place. So I'm going to select that. For check-in time, I could put a check-in time in as well as filling out the checkout date. I'm not going to do that for just this example and for the sake of time. So we're just going to select Add to Itinerary. You might notice, though, again, checkout date's filled out for May 6th. And then on May 6th, we have that checkout date. I might have wanted to put the checkout date for being May 7th since the cruise departs that day, but we'll just continue moving along. To add in just a little bit more information to the hotel event itself, we're clicking into that pencil icon that we see throughout Travefy, meaning we can edit it further. And now let's put in some description, copying and pasting that in. There we go. And now I am going to add in just some more photos. So I'm bringing the hotel's website over here. You can see some of the different photos they have. Click out of all these little boxes. And the way that we're going to add photos in for this one, instead of the copy paste method, video, upload, database, we're going to do the website method. And I always like to try this out with hotels or lodgings just because it does make life a lot easier. So I'm going to copy this link up here. Again, we're on the hotel's website, so we're copying their URL. I'm going to paste it in here and select Get Images, and we'll see what we can grab. This is the fun part where I feel like I need to have some background music play. Okay, there we go. And so when this method works, we can just select which photos we want to bring over all at once. So I might just choose 5 random ones, save my changes, done editing to save that, and this is what it is looking like. But a few more things. It's looking good from where we originally started. Now, you might be familiar with this term, city guides. We're going to add a city guide in. For those who aren't familiar, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a guide about the city that you can bring over, and it helps fluff a trip up. So if there's any day that you don't have anything planned for them, but you still want to provide a lot of information to a client, I recommend checking out to see if we have a city guide. And so for May, you know what? Let's see here which ones we've got. We have a few different options. It looks like they're traveling all over the place. Maybe I'm going to click New Day. And I'm going to say, you know what? After their cruise, they're still going to hang around and they're going to be in Naples. So I'm going to click Done. Actually, we're going to do Naples Day. You can see how I changed that trip title or that day title right there. I'm going to select city guides on this side, and we're going to search Naples, not Naples, Florida. I believe this is the one we want. And from here, this is the entire guide. So you could pull over the entire guide. If you don't want to, you can always just scroll down and it breaks into its own different sections. So what I might do, I know my clients love shopping. Who doesn't? I'm going to drag and drop it over into this day. And it loads all of this information. And again, you might be familiar with these, what we call, again, place attachments. Clients are going to be able to click into it and they can get more description on each place. If you decide you want to customize it just a little bit further, maybe you've been to one of these places, you didn't enjoy it all that much, you can always click that little red button there and delete it out. But let's go ahead, got done with that. Next and last thing, really, we could add some more pricing in for a couple of these items. As you can see, we did like the full price just starting at. You could put the full price for everybody per person if you wanted to. But just as a reminder, you can always put just the specific single price into these events towards the bottom. You just add time or price and add it in like so. Now, we're almost to the end of this, so thank you for sticking with me in my microphone issues. But the very last thing is really now what the client experience is all about. And so next, we are going to just preview this. So I'm selecting preview at the top right next to that send button. And this is how we can just see what the client will see when they open up their trip invite from us. And so they'll be able to see that trip description. Again, that appears at the top. It's not in any dated section. They can see, what's going on each day. They can click into these different photos, scroll through it. It's super interactive and they get really attached to the trip the more they interact with it, as you might know. So this just provides a lot of opportunities for that in making a sale. Video, what we added at the very beginning, they can watch right in here. It doesn't take them over to YouTube, which I find really nice. Again, once they're done watching it, they're still on your trip. Tables. Makes a little bit more sense sometimes to have it laid out in that table. Otherwise, it's just a lot of words, and sometimes people just don't want to read all that much. So putting it into something interesting like this always helps. But the other thing too now is how can we send this off? So maybe we got done, proofreading it, all the links and buttons work that we wanted to, we attached everything we needed. To go ahead and send this to a client, there are 2 different ways. One, you can always just generate the trip link for your client. You can message it to them directly. This is also a great way to just generate the link. And if you want to showcase it on social media at all, this is the link that you would want to do that with. Otherwise, if you have the client in mind that you would be sending this to, I always recommend directly emailing it to them. One, because you can include that custom message. You can CC yourself to make sure it's getting sent to them. And I'll show you here quick. I'm just going to type in my test email so you can see this. I put bonniejoesherman@gmail.com. We'll just go ahead, send this on off. And now the nice thing is that I can go to more, go to that people section, and I can view that invite status. So especially if this is a proposal, I do want to make sure that they're opening it. If it's been, 3 days and they still haven't viewed it, I might want to just go ahead, directly message them, see what might be going on, making sure that they did get it. But that's just a nice way to have a little bit of leverage over that situation. The other thing too, if you have clients who just prefer PDF, once they approve that proposal, it becomes an itinerary where they can generate the PDF. I'll just do that really quick so you can kind of see how that looks. Now, they would have been sent that. If they refresh their page, they have those two options now. You can also just generate it for them directly within Travefy. So if you want to include certain things or exclude certain things, you can. But very last thing that I have for you, that's a little bit of a newer feature compared to some of those other ones that we went through, is a task item. So if you have certain steps that you like to take with your quotes or with your trips in general, you can click into your trip. You might not have noticed this before, but there's a little task area that you can click into, and you can make sure you assign your to-do items you need to get done. So for instance, I might do send welcome home, thank you message. Again, they just approved the itinerary or the proposal, I guess I should say. So I might want to make this a to-do item, open those details up. I like to do the automatic due date. I'll do this 2 days after, just so I'm not bombarding the client, after the trip end date. And as you can see, our system automatically, calculates those dates for you, which is super handy. I'm going to make sure we add a time in and select that remind me function, just because then I'm going to get emailed a notification that I have, this and this and this to do today. Otherwise, if I have Travefy Pro downloaded, which I do, I'll get a push notification as well about that. So I'm going to click done. And now we are going to make sure this is a really custom elevated experience for the client and it looks good. But I am going to go ahead. I am going to take a sip of soda. And Stephanie, do you have any questions that people have?
Oh, do I have questions?
Oh boy.
So many. Okay. So first one, this is the question that was probably the most popular, is can we do multiple cruises per proposal? So we get this one a lot. I will share something, but I'll have you show also. But I know that's a question because you do have to look up based on a date. So I know there's a couple different ways you can do that. And I'll let you answer it, but we do have a handy dandy template that Scott made one time, and I'm going to share that in the chat.
Ooh, I was going to say, I did not know Scott had a template, but one, I personally find it easiest if there are multiple options, especially with cruises, you have your certain dates, to just create separate proposals. And I am going to take this a step further. I'm not sure, Stephanie, if this was the route you wanted me to go, but
it'll still be good. I know it.
With cruises, it's generally the same schedule for anyone. So you might have 5 people who are interested in this Mediterranean cruise. And so what I always like to do, I go to my status on this side. I click edit. I believe by default, you have quote confirm paid. I got rid of those. I added my own. I have master template and Disney. Shout out to Disney agents. But then I just go ahead. Maybe if I didn't add any custom information like Smith family prices, it kept just really general. I can go ahead, put the status on that I want. So like a template status. And then from there, I just create multiple copies of these. I can send those options separately without having to recreate my work each time someone wants an option. And I can find all of my different options super easily. Otherwise, too, and this might be where you were getting at, Stephanie, is just customizing the dates instead of having those. And so I think this is my one that I like to use typically. Oh, maybe not. But just to show you real quick, you can always go ahead, delete out your start date. I'm going to save my changes. Let that do its thing. And from there, you can have instead cruise option 1. add in all of your events. You would probably need to do this manually just because it does require with the cruise those dates. But it's not too much of a hassle once you actually make your template. And then again, you can just create copies upon copies of the same thing without having to do that work over and over. But Stephanie,
I love it.
I will let you kind of run through what you had in mind, because there are different ways to do so many of these things.
There really is. So like, I just posted the example. So there's this one that we shared. This is like in a previous webinar, but it's the same thing you did, where it's like the cruise option. And basically it's like, just like what Bonnie just did, where it's like the cruise option, you know, the day. But then, what like Scott did in this one is he just created an event that just has, so he's not looking up like the cruise like in the database. It's just like day one, here it is. Yeah. So that's what it is. And also really cool, if you're logged into your Travefy account, you can save a copy. So that way you can do that. But yeah, so really awesome. Yeah, that's a really cool way to do it. Because yeah, there were a lot of questions on that, which totally understand, you know, the best way to do that.
Oh, fun. See,
it looks so awesome.
Get so many ideas just from doing trainings with all of the agents I meet. So yeah, I have seen this before as well. If you weren't sure how he went about this, it looks like he just did new event, did cruise, added it in manually. That looks like to be an activity event. You can kind of match up those symbols and kind of figure out how he did it. But yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, like, because I remember him mentioning before that, it would like, he'll just go on to the website. So like Royal Caribbean, you know, their website. And then usually they just have it broken down like day one, day two, and then you can just copy and paste. So it's like not super crazy and lengthy, which is awesome. And on that though, I did see a couple people who are newer to Travefy, which is so exciting.
Ooh, welcome to the community.
Yeah, it's so awesome. But a lot of people are asking, they're like, oh gosh, like how long does it take to learn all this stuff? Well, actually it's not too bad, because like it's really good. But I will say, like, yeah, you do want to do a couple of them. But watching these are really helpful. But that's why I love cruises, because I think cruises are so simple, like because of that database that we have. It's really cool.
Yeah. And two, if you are brand new, one, we talk about certifications all the time. We also have a certification program outside of this that needs a little bit of love. So if you want to get a certification while just kind of training and going through Travefy, learning the ins and outs of it, I definitely recommend going to this page here. You can access the course. It's basically like a learning course that you would usually be familiar with, but yeah, this way you can get rewarded with a nice badge at the end of it.
Yeah, it's super awesome.
Let me put that in our chat though.
I know. Yeah, I'm multitasking. I was sending something in there too. There's so many questions, and we say this every time, but I'm so sorry if we aren't able to get to all of them, but we'll do our best. Okay, so I know the next one. This is another one that had a lot of questions, and basically a lot of people are asking, like, how do I deal with cruises when there's a group, when there's multiple people, which made me think of tagging.
Yes.
Share that.
So tagging, it's always a little bit more complicated to talk over like via chat about tagging, just because a lot of this stuff, you have to see it, you have to try it out on your own. But that is a great question. And so what I'm actually going to do, let's add in, let's say this is a group of friends, 2 friends going on this trip, but they have different flight information and I don't want them to see it. Same thing too for like cabin options as well. Maybe they're staying in different cabins. Let me go ahead. We're going to stick with this flight one, just because I think that also involves a lot of other people who might not do cruises who are tuning in. But let's see, 6-6, I think is what it was. And so let's say Jane Doe is going on this flight and John Doe is going on this flight. Maybe they have different information though, like I said. And so what you can do is you click into your event. I'm going to go down to specific people, and I'm just going to type in the name. So we're just going to make fake emails. Hopefully this isn't anyone's real one. We'll do it at gmail.com. And actually, I might need to have them as my contact, as a contact, first of all. That's fine. We'll just put Bonnie, AKA me, in this flight. And then hold on quick. I know it's going to be worth it. I'm going to make
worth it.
Stephanie, you're going on this with me. So Stephanie gets a contact.
Yay.
you're going on a Mediterranean cruise, congrats, but you're going on maybe a nicer flight seat. Maybe you get first class and I just don't know about it. So we're going to make sure we tag you to your item here. So I'm going to start to type in Stephanie. Oh my gosh, I just added you in. Oh, I need an email attached. See?
Oh yeah. So if you go to more, if you go to more at the top there.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. I like to take the long about way,
That's okay. Well, it just goes to show how many ways, you can do all this stuff.
Yep. So like I said, let's go ahead and go back. So just to summarize, because I just hopped all over the place for people who might not be catching up to that, I just added Stephanie in as a contact, made sure her email was there. Otherwise, you can always go to more people, add her as a contact this way as well. I just take the long route, but now I should be able to add you in here. There you are. Perfect. I'm going to say,
I'm going.
Just to show the difference, first class, baby, because you got the expensive seat. So where this all kind of just ends up is now when I go to preview this, and we have, again, we're kind of going with the story that they're group members and they need to see their own thing. Again, maybe it's flights, maybe it's also cabins, but you only want them to see what's relevant to them. So as the agent, I can see what first of all, everybody sees, or I can make sure, I want to see what Stephanie sees. So I select Stephanie, I'll scroll down. You can see her flight, first class baby. Otherwise, if I want to see what, fake Bonnie's looking at, she does not have first class. So she's not going to know either way because she doesn't see what Stephanie has on her end, which that's the nice thing about tagging. It allows you to just work off of one itinerary, but also managing, how many people are going on this trip.
Yeah, it'll be so good. And I'm going to put the FAQ, by the way, in there.
Perfect.
So tagging FAQ. I'm putting that in the chat. Okay, here we go.
Perfect. And nice thing too, I just keep thinking of things. I could do this like all day, just going off topic.
Totally.
But the nice thing about tagging too is if you have clients who want a PDF, you can still generate PDFs for them and making sure they only see what their items are. You just select PDF. And if you can see down here, it's a little bit small, but you can generate it for specific people. So for Stephanie, I can create her PDF. And then if someone else wanted theirs, I can generate their specific one as well.
And one thing to note too, because a couple people asked this, like, can other people see it? Or like, what does it mean if only specific? But that'd be like on the group settings. So I always like to use example, like if you are doing it for a family and you want them to be able to see each other's stuff, like they want to see when they're getting in and stuff, you can change it so that way it's public, where private means that you would have to have the email that you attach to it to like create an account and see that. So that's the difference. So you can set it up however works best.
Yep. Super nice options right here. Again, that's in trip settings. I know I went there just as you were talking. But yeah, you can play around with that just a bit more.
You know what's so awesome? So many people are like, oh my gosh, this is game changing.
Okay, good.
I know tagging is one of those things I always forget about. I'm like, oh yeah, people might not realize it's so great. I have another question here though for you is, if I make updates or changes to a proposal that was previously sent, will the client receive them or do I have to resend the updated version?
Oh, this is the best part. If you have to go in, you got to make some changes. Like they want to maybe do 5 more shore excursions. That's a bit wild. But if you need to make any changes, they aren't notified of those changes. They don't even have to get resent the link. This is a live link. So each trip has its own unique link or URL. And so any changes you make, it'll update automatically on their end as well. Same thing if they have the Trip Plans app and they go to look at their trip, they'll see those changes. The only time they're notified about a change is if this flight here, maybe departure delay of 2 minutes. That's when they'll get a notification within that 24-hour window of departure of any change. But other than that, you can make and recreate this entire thing and they won't get notified. I know at least I have to make 1 million changes with things. So this is a nice feature.
Yeah, that's always really, really nice. Another one, kind of on the similar vein here
Yeah.
is, are the flight updates automatic for the client as well, or do we need to resend the itinerary?
Nope, these are automatic. And so if you remember when we were in a proposal, and I guess I'll explain this just a little bit more clearer. In a proposal, when you import a flight, there aren't going to be flight updates or changes or notifications that go out about them until it's an approved itinerary. And again, once they click that approve button, it becomes an itinerary automatically. And you'll be able to see that little green check mark, which hopefully you can see that says receiving updates for this flight. So automatic changes will take place. We usually do it once a week. Periodically, we'll get those updates from the airline until it reaches that 24-hour window of departure. That's when we'll do real-time updates, real-time notifications. But in this case, it's May 4th. We don't really see a need to bother your client about maybe a 2-minute delay if it's all the way in May. And so we'll just update that automatically. 24-hour window is when things really start to get going. And hopefully that makes sense. I know we have a lot of FAQs about that as well. So if you need any clarification or need to go back and read any of that, that is there too.
One thing too that someone just mentioned, so I want to make sure to call this out, is someone said, personally, I would like to have the option to notify the client of changes. So that was kind of previously we were talking about the changes of stuff. And you actually could, by using the discussion area or like the chat, you could do that. So that way you do chat with them and tell them when you are making changes.
Yep. You can always use the discussion feature while you're in what we call the trip builder. So you can say, and I got to move some Zoom stuff around. You can always say, hi, take a look at this day with these changes, ... send. And so this will live in the trip for, recording purposes. You can see if it's been seen or not seen yet. You can always delete it off as well after a couple of days. But your client's going to get emailed a notification that, unread chat message on their trip. Otherwise, too, if they have the Trip Plans app downloaded already, they'll just get a little push notification like they usually would when a message comes in for them.
Yeah, super cool. Love that thing there.
Yeah.
Okay, so another one, sorry, I'm kind of moving you all over the place.
No, go for it.
Is another one. Okay, so on flights. So this is really important. Is someone asked, is there a setting change to have the airport link not auto-populated on flights? So this is actually really important because you actually don't want to remove that. Otherwise, if you do want to remove it, it's going to stop tracking the flight. So if you don't mind that, if you don't need it being tracked, you can remove out that airport. But basically how it's tracking, like the time zones, is based on that address. So if you remove that out, our system is like, what time is it?
I don't actually know where this JFK airport is. You can, though, change out the link. So if you don't want to include a link, you can always remove that. If you don't want to include a phone number either, there's no way you're going to get a hold of anyone anyway. So I'm just going to remove that. Then you can keep it like so. But I always recommend keeping the address in there if at all possible, so you can get those updates.
Yeah. So really cool there. And another thing here too is on the library.
Yes.
Can you go over saving in the library?
Yes, I can. I'm glad you brought that up. That was something that I didn't know if we were going to spend enough time on.
I know, you never know. There's so much stuff.
I know. It's like, will I get through all of this information? But yeah, so let's take our cabin options and pricing, for example. And you know what? I want to just save this to my library. The thing that you can do is, one, you can click the pencil icon for whatever you want to save. And you scroll down to the bottom, select your 3 dots, save to library, which is that second option. It's going to ask you for a label. I like to think of labels as folders, honestly, because they're getting put into this folder. And so I usually put something like cabin information. You can do whatever type of label system makes sense to you. I know a lot of people will do the geographic location for labels, but then you just add that label in, save it to your library. Let's click done editing on here. And we're just going to do a quick new trip. That way, once you save it from your trip to your library, you can always bring it up. Cabin information, drag and drop that over into wherever you want. But good question there. The other little tip that I have on that, because sometimes you might realize, you know what, that takes a couple of steps and I have a lot of things to save to my library. If you rather, you can always click this edit button. Again, the edit button has a ton of features that people don't realize. So you can select the ones that you want to save all at once. Click the three dots. Save items to library as single events, save them as a multi-event. So if you want them packaged together, you can. This is also how you can tag people to multiple things too. But a lot of different ways to go about that. And hopefully that answers your question about saving.
Yeah, so many different ways. Okay, so another question here is, can you tell me where we can send the client the app? So like, how do they download the app?
Yes. So there are a couple of different things that you can do. One, you can send them the direct mobile link. So because this is an itinerary now, we have that app and we have that PDF option. On proposals, they will not have that app option just because it's going to be less easy for them to, take your work. And if they decide to book it themselves or book through somewhere else, that's just one obstacle that they just can't do. They can't save it to the app if it's still in the quote process. But we're in the itinerary, as we know. So you can always do send get trip link. And hopefully you can see it. I know it can be a little small on my screen. You can copy the mobile app link and you can send this directly to them, text it to them. They just click into it and it'll walk them through getting that. Otherwise, too, one thing that I've seen become more popular, at least with the people that I talk to in trainings, is if you go to the trip plans landing page, some people like to leave the option up to a client on whether or not they want to download the app, which is great. You can just click or Command C or, copy this URL and you can put it in your trip somewhere. So trip settings is a great place. If you want to download it in the app, check out this link. And again, let's do, oh my goodness, there we go. Struggling with the keyboard shortcuts today. Do this little fun link button. This is how you can hyperlink if you weren't aware. You might even want to change that text out. Insert, save changes. And this is just going to provide them another way to kind of just check it out for themselves. Otherwise, that app option always lives right here. Boom. And they just put in their email. Super easy. And of course, too, I always say this, we're always here to help as well. So if you have any questions that the clients asked you about the app and the functionality, feel free to reach out anytime.
Oh, yeah, we are definitely here. And that's a good point to say that because there's so many questions that I don't think we'll get through because we have to hop onto the Facebook Live. We have to.
Oh no, I forgot about that.
I know. But one that's really important is, okay, so on the app stuff is, someone asked you clients need a Travefy account to download the app.
Yeah. So here's the thing about the app. And actually, let me go back to that trip plans page. One, no, they do not need a Travefy Pro account. That is the account type that you have, that you signed up for as an agent or a travel planner. For them, what they are really required to do is create a sign-on. So they just need to put in their email and create a password, and that is it. That's how they can make sure that the trips they want in their account are saved to their traveler account. So it's a free one to set up. You can always see how it works too. I've downloaded trip plans just to see how it plays around with. Just use a personal email address, not the one that's attached to your Travefy Pro account. That way you can always make sure what it looks like on the app as well. Kind of handy. But great stuff
That's
in here
awesome.
too. Here are those steps. I find this so helpful just because, I'm a visual person, so you can kind of see then, okay, view an app. Here's what it looks like in the app store. And here's how, you can view your trip.
Oh, yeah. So good. I know. I love this thing. This may or may not be on my top tips and tricks.
Ooh,
because it's so good. A sneak peek. I know. I love that so much. I did share, speaking of Facebook Live, I shared the link in chat on how to get on that. So just go to our Facebook page. It'll be there. And then we'll be watching comments and stuff. But just a heads up, though, that we will. It might be likely we miss it just because Facebook Live just kind of lives out there forever. So feel free to do message our support team as well in there. I'm trying to think. Oh yes, there's so many people loving this, Bonnie. So
Okay,
great.
good.
Yeah,
I know it's
killing
wave
it.
season and this is on theme for what's going on right now, but I hope you were able to get some of this and find that you might use it in your own workflow, integrate it in there. But of course, can't say this enough. We are always here to help. So if you learn better with a one-on-one training, always love to meet you guys and kind of see what you've been up to, get some different ideas. But yeah, I'm glad that for the most part, everyone found this helpful.
Oh, absolutely. One last thing though that I'm going to mention.
Yeah.
This is so funny. Whenever we do these webinars, I kind of forget this, but what do you do if you're brand new and you start like a free trial? Like, is there a trial? Like, how do you get signed up with Travefy?
Oh boy,
I always forget to say this one most important thing.
So yes, one, if you are brand new and you're tuning in, one, glad to have you here. We have a great community of agents who are users. First of all, join Travefy official group on Facebook. There's a lot of things that are being shared between agents that you might find helpful. But yes, you can start a free trial on Travefy.com. It's for 10 days. You can learn a lot just with those 10 days. But of course, if you find you need more time, we're always happy to extend it for another 10 days as well, get you on a demo. And of course, we don't want to make you feel pressured into anything. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to us. We are always here for both users and people who are just trying to find a new software to help them with the travel planning process.
Awesome. So good.
Boom.
Yeah.
I hope I pulled a Scott-like speech there.
No, so excellent. So good. But I have to say, 'cause I know we'll have to switch gears over in the Facebook Live. So it's our little encore. So it's new this year, our encore sessions. But it's good for both advanced and new users. So both are really, really great for. So check that out. I'm trying to think. I know there's a lot of questions we didn't get to. Once again, so sorry. Please do email us. I know Eric's been in there typing away, going crazy. Just trying to get everything. But I'll let you round it out for us, Bonnie.
All right. Well, last thing to say really is you can always register for more sessions that are upcoming throughout this week on this page here where you first of all probably registered for this session. But as usual, if you need anything, reach out. Always here to help. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day.
Woo! We'll see you again on Facebook and then see you tomorrow. Day one. I can't believe it. Amazing.
I know.
So
it's
fast.
Crazy.
I know.
Already end of the day, but all right. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
See you soon.